All right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the dais here at Little Caesars Arena as we continue to preview the 2024 Midwest Regional. We appreciate everyone's coverage. We'll be starting our press conference here with head coach Greg McDermott here shortly. As a courtesy to other media members, please silence your cell phones if you haven't done so already. Remember to raise your hand. We do have mic holders on either side. Speak clearly into the microphone, please, as this press conference is being transcribed by ASAP Sports. With that, we'll begin today's session. We'll kick it over to Coach McDermott for an opening statement, and then we'll open the floor to questions.
Obviously excited to be back in a Sweet 16. Proud of the way our group performed last week in Pittsburgh. This time of year, you just never know. We've stayed relatively healthy, which has really helped us with our core group. And they just continue to believe in themselves. They're incredibly connected, and that's the reason we've had the season that we had. And realize we have a heck of a task in front of us in Tennessee with how talented and well coached that group is.
Thanks, Coach. We'll start the questions on the right side in the back.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN. Greg, it feels like the momentum is pushing us towards an expanded tournament. How do you feel about that? And if so, what should that look like if it happens?
People aren't going to like what I have to say, but I'm probably in favor of expansion to a certain degree, and simply because last weekend is an incredible experience for every student athlete that gets to participate. So why are we only having 15% or 17% of our teams participate? Why not? I don't know what the number is. Is it 15? Is it 20? Somebody smarter than me will figure that out. But why not, in this world of student athlete welfare and doing more and more for student athletes, why not give more student athletes that experience? And I think most people that don't want the tournament messed with, it's for selfish reasons, because they like it the way it is, and that's not a good enough reason, in my opinion. If it's really about the student athletes, then give more opportunities for student athletes that have had a good season. I think it includes more of the mid majors, and this year was a not necessarily a normal year in that there were a lot of bid stealers. So I think more than, at least in recent history, there was a lot of teams left out that could win games in the tournament.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go to the front row here on the right.
Can you give us at all a scouting report on Dalton Connect, and who do you think will match up with him? And with him and Baylor, do you think they're an example of what can be good out of the transfer portal? Maybe players that didn't have a lot of choices coming out of high school, they go to a smaller school, they take off, they go to a bigger school.
Yeah, I mean, they're both great stories of, perseverance and a tremendous work ethic. And, obviously they both had great years. 2 years ago, Dalton was at Northern Colorado and Baylor was at South Dakota State. And now you have a first-team All-American and a third-team All-American playing against each other in the Sweet 16. So, unbelievable story. I don't know that you guard him with one guy. I think we have to give him different looks, and that's the plan. And, hopefully take away his easy ones because he's going to make enough tough ones because he's an elite player. But, he and Baylor, their journeys are similar in a lot of ways. And, to watch their growth and development from, when they were freshmen in college to where they are today is really a testament to their work ethic.
Second row here.
Matty Marinas, White and Blue Review. Mac, with respect to obviously what Tennessee presents defensively, how actually tricky is corralling Dalton and Zakai on the other end of the floor and making sure they're kind of out of sync?
Yeah, I don't know that you can totally get them out of sync. They have to see bodies, but the problem with Tennessee is they're unselfish. They have 567 assists and 356 turnovers. So they're a team that's more than willing to make the extra pass, and Dalton is included in that. So that makes a team difficult to defend. They run a lot of actions to try to get him loose and then play off that. But when you've got a guy that scores at his level and is still unselfish, it makes it very difficult to defend.
Back to the front row here on the right, Coach.
Matt Satilli, KETV Omaha. Coach, one of the fans you're going to have back home rooting you on, Jack Elliott. You called him the most courageous 12-year-old in Omaha. Can you just quickly explain what he means to you and how he's inspired this program this year?
Yeah, I met Jack by chance. I think it was a Make-A-Wish request, kind of at the last minute. And we got him to our game, and he came to our shoot-around and spent time with our team. And, Jack's he's a tough little guy, man. And his outlook on life, going through something very difficult at his age with radiation and chemo and everything that they're doing to his body, and yet he shows up with a smile on his face and texts me before and after every game, and has developed a really good relationship with Baylor as well. And he was by practice the other day, so we got to spend a little time with him. But it's a good reminder to our guys, how good we have it and how blessed we are to be able to do what we do. And you see, for us to complain about a missed shot, and we look over at Jack, what he's going through, we've got to get over ourselves a little bit. So he's been an inspiration to me, and I know he has been to our team as well.
We're going to flip it over to the left side in the third row.
Abby Gallant, Creightonian. You guys have talked a lot about how the process has been really important to get you guys here. How important is it to continue to trust your process and your training as you're making this run?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's that's what it's about. We've talked about process all the way back to June, and trusting your work and be consistent with your daily habits. And if you do that, you'll be put in a position where you're going to have a chance. And even though it looked a little bleak late in that Oregon game, I think they never really had any self-doubt creep in because they put so much work in. Now, you can still put work in and the shot may not go in. But had that shot not go in, I would have still felt great about the shot Baylor got because I've watched him practice that shot hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So he did the work, he prepared himself, and sometimes you're successful in those situations and sometimes you're not. But, these guys believe in each other. They believe in their work. And, that makes it for a pretty fun experience from a coaching perspective.
Staying on the left side, one row back.
Chris Solari, Detroit Free Press. I'm wondering about kind of the other side of Baylor and Dalton's story is what the transfer portal has done, particularly in the tournament, but beyond. When you see guys now, their team ends, they go into the portal, in the first week, or they don't make the tournament. I guess what does that do for the game as a whole? I mean, is guys going up or guys going down?
I'm all about the student athlete and them having choices. They deserve those choices. Could we do it at a different time? I wish we could. I would like the stories from Selection Sunday until Championship Monday to be about the teams in the NCAA tournament. Not about who's leaving and who's joining this program. It's just unfortunate that that's such a big part of what's going on in the daily news, and I think it takes away from celebrating the teams that have had incredible years and have made it to this point. Is there a way to maneuver that time a little? I hope so, because it's very difficult. My staff, while we're trying to prepare for Tennessee, my guys are also working the portal. You have to, and that's an unfortunate thing for a team that's in the tournament trying to advance. That you have to spend that amount of time, because if you don't make calls, then you're out. So I don't like the timing of it, but I understand why it's there.
Let's go back to the right side on the fourth row.
Yeah, Joe Rexler with The Athletic. Greg, just wondering what kind of challenges you expect Zakai Ziegler to pose on both ends, and have you seen an opponent this year you'd compare to him?
I don't know. Posh Alexander played at Butler this year, very disruptive defensively. Still don't know that he's as quick as Ziegler is. He gets to spots offensively. He's so disruptive defensively. And, Coach Barnes has really, carved out a huge role for him on that team on both ends of the floor. He's hit big shots. He can, whatever, I don't know how many steals he's got. It's a lot. But just as a menace defensively with everything that he does, he's a terrific point guard, and in a lot of ways, kind of the straw that stirs the drinks for them in a lot of ways, because of the impact he has on defensively and the plays he makes for other people offensively. I mean, 204 assists to 76 turnovers in the SEC. That's big time.
Back to the right side in the second row.
Mac, you talked about, you and the players talked about the impact that kind of finding joy within that stress had on the end of the Oregon game. And I'm curious how you keep hold of that while knowing that you could be 40 minutes away from your season being over.
It's the makeup of the team, and I think as a coach, the longer I've been doing this, you got to let guys be who they are. And you've been around practice enough, Matt. We don't take ourselves too serious. We don't take each other too serious. We have some fun with the game. I think some coaches, especially young coaches, and I was probably guilty of this when I was younger, there's so much pressure to win and be successful that you coach the joy right out of the game. And I don't ever want to do that to my guys. I want to make sure that they started playing this game because they fell in love with it. And if I do something to take the joy away from that, then I'm doing them a disservice. So this group really they have fun. And I there's parts of practice, there's drills. We've joked about drills they don't like, which usually is my favorite drill. If they don't like it, it's probably a good drill. But they truly enjoy coming to practice every day and being together. And that's been pretty cool to witness.
Back to the left side in the back row.
John Walker, Omaha World Herald. Mac, your initial takeaway was Tennessee's defense, obviously. Have you learned anything else about them since diving into the film throughout the week?
Yeah, I've known Coach Barnes for a long time, and obviously coached against him when I was at Iowa State and he was at Texas. And an interesting story, when Bruce Rasmussen called me and asked me to meet with him about the Creighton job when I was still at Iowa State. I still had a few years left on my contract at Iowa State. Creighton was still in the Valley, and I was meeting Bruce in Des Moines, 45-minute drive. When I got in my car and pulled out of my driveway, I called Rick Barnes. And because I had questions for him about that point in my career, this kind of move. And I hung up the phone with him when I pulled into the hotel parking lot 40 minutes later. And he just drilled me with questions and things to think about, short-term, long-term, that I think speaks to who Rick Barnes is. He's been a great friend of mine. I've always respected the way he's coached his teams and how he's gone about it. And this Tennessee team is, it's got some of what he did offensively when he was at Texas, trying to run some cutters off the basket standard under the basket. I prepared for that before, and he does that a lot with Dalton. But defensively, there's a standard there that's really impressive with how they play and how they compete and how disruptive they are every single play, and it can turn a game in a flash. So that message has been drilled into our guys over the course of the week. Whether we're ready for it, we'll see. But Coach Barnes has done a great job with this program. It's been fun to watch him be as successful as he has been from afar.
First row on the left, Coach.
Vedant Gupta, Global Kid Media. Coach, this team has a lot of guys with unique backgrounds. Ryan's a Fisher. Baylor was a state champion quarterback. Steven's married and was an entrepreneur selling salsa at a young age. Talk about bringing different interests together, this team identity, and how their bond helps them play as successful as they do on the court.
Yeah, they're as you mentioned, they all have a lot of different interests, but they have a common interest in their love for the game of basketball. And because they're selfless on the basketball floor, they also like to learn about each other off the floor. And they spend a fair amount of time with each other off the floor, even though their interests are very different. I know Kalkbrenner took Ashworth fishing here a few weeks ago in Omaha, and we had a nice day, and Steven caught his first fish that day or whatever. So they do some pretty cool stuff together, but it's their leadership, that group of Baylor, Trey, Ryan, and Steven, Francisco, just like off the charts, like not about me, not a lot of an agenda for themselves. Let's figure out a way for us to be as good as we possibly can be.
Take two more for Coach. Let's start in the third row here on the left.
Yeah, Coach, just to follow up, why was Rick the one you called about the job that day, and did it have a lot to do with what you ended up deciding?
Yeah. I've always had a lot of respect for Coach Barnes, and I didn't really know him until I got to the Big 12, and then you go and you spend time with guys at postseason conference meetings, media days, and then you get to know him and you sit with him recruiting, and we just developed a friendship. And he's someone that I respected, that had moved around a few times, from George Mason to Providence to Clemson, and had been in that situation. And of the guys in the Big 12 at that time, he was the one I thought that could maybe give me make sure I'm thinking about everything before I made that decision. And to his credit, he asked a lot of the right questions. And then when I had the opportunity, I decided to do it, and it's been a great run.
Okay, Coach, we're going to wrap it up with a question on Zoom. Parth, we've unmuted your line. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mason's, it's a great story. In this day and age, not many young people are willing to redshirt. Obviously Mason's parents, Mike and Jen, Mike has obviously a very accomplished professional career, and Jen was a terrific volleyball player at Florida. So they understood that Mason needed time and he needed to follow a process. And that first process was a redshirt, and then last year it was playing off the bench and trying to spark the team. And then in the off season, once the season was over last year, we talked about, our expectation was he should be fighting for this starting job this year. And to Mason's credit, he's worked, and he's done just that. And obviously was huge for us in the game against Akron to gain some momentum with a big three right before halftime, and then hit a couple more coming out of the locker room. So he's gotten better, he's worked hard, and has become a very important part of our team.
Appreciate it. Coach, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Alexander and Scheierman. Let's go, guys. All right, pleased to continue here with the Creighton Blue Jays. Gentlemen, congratulations for advancing to the Sweet 16. Welcome to Detroit. From your left to your right, we are joined by Ryan Kalkbrenner, Trey Alexander, and Baylor Scheierman. So we will jump into the Q&A from the media in the room here. First up, Larry Lage on the left.
Question for Baylor. Can you reflect on your journey here, and what choices did you have coming out of high school, and do you feel like you made the most of your opportunities in the transfer portal to be here and on this stage with this team?
Yeah, I mean, coming out of high school, I only had one Division I offer, and obviously chose to go to South Dakota State, and then transfer to Creighton. And I just think that I'm happy with the journey and how it all worked out for me. And I think going through the transfer portal was one of the best decisions I made, and I'm very happy with how it all played out.
Second row on the right.
Matty Reyes, White and Blue Review. For anybody, I'm curious what the difference is in the feeling and the prep and just the lead up to all of it, all the kind of the extra juice compared to this stage last year and going through it the first time together.
Ryan, want to take that first?
I think last year, we were just a little extra excited about it, doing it for the first time. But, this year you got a little more experience, so you're still super excited about it and trying to take it all in. But it's almost easier to take it all in because you've been here before and you can take a step back easier.
Trey, want to add to that?
Yeah, kind of what Kalk said. You kind of know what to expect now, even though you're still very grateful to be here and you're excited. You know what type of prep it takes now, so we can kind of we know what the feeling is to be here, and we know what it takes to get the job done.
flip it back over to the left side in the fourth row.
Chris Solari, Detroit Free Press. Baylor, when you make that decision to go to South Dakota State, it wasn't that far from home, but when you were going through that process of leaving, what were the things that you were thinking about at that point, and how do you feel that the move to Creighton has maybe elevated your game from where you were at that point in the Summit League?
Yeah, well, I wanted to go to a place. I wanted to go to a place where, I thought that I could grow as a player, and a place that I thought fit the way that I played. When I first entered the transfer portal, I wasn't really thinking about anything in specific. But once Creighton had reached out, I knew that I wanted to come back home, and I felt like just being here at Creighton these last 2 years and playing in the Big East the last 2 years and just against a lot of the top competition in just college basketball has elevated my game to just a different level than it was in the Summit League.
Additional questions for the student athletes. Back to the right side.
I'm just curious, what boxes you guys feel you need to check tomorrow to score effectively against a defense like Tennessee's?
Trey?
I would say just don't hold the ball too long. They're a very good team in terms of raking in the gaps and turning you over. So I think that we limit turnovers. We're able to get out in transition by getting stops like that. I think those are some of the boxes we have to check on the offensive end.
Ryan, anything else for you?
Yeah, same stuff Trey said. Just taking care of the ball, making sure we're getting shots and not turning it over, and that'll feed into our offense.
Back to left side in the third row here.
Abby Gallant, Creightonian. This is for any of you guys. No, you've never made it past this weekend. Does that kind of add a little bit of extra pressure, motivation, or kind of both when you're thinking about your performances that have to be over this weekend?
Baylor, want to take that one?
Pressure's a privilege, obviously, and obviously we've never made it past this weekend, but we can't get to Sunday without, taking care of business tomorrow. So our whole focus is on tomorrow, and we played a lot of basketball games in our career, and I think we just stay calm and collected, and we just prepared the same way. Even though it's a bigger stage, you can't really change your preparation.
Chris in the back left there.
This again for Baylor. Did you and Dalton meet up at all on the AAU circuit or anything when you guys were coming up, and have you kind of followed his journey through Northern Colorado and all that?
We never met on the AAU circuit. However, I had a buddy who went to Northern Colorado and was teammates with him in high school, but we don't know each other personally, but I do know, obviously, he went to a smaller school like I did and then transferred up and has had a phenomenal season. So,
sticking on the left side here in the back row.
Baylor, kind of on that same note, how surreal is that the two All-Americans in this game are kind of transfer portal success stories?
Yeah, it just shows that you have to run your race. Everybody's different. Obviously I didn't have the high level offers coming out of high school right away, but I stayed down and trusted my work, and ended up blessed to be in this position now. So,
any other questions for the players? Front row here.
Baylor, how much do you expect to match up with Dalton, and when you are, what do you try to do?
Well, obviously, he's a tremendous player, and he hits tough shots. And so for me, just trying to make it as difficult as I can on him. Obviously, he's going to hit some tough shots because he's a tremendous player. But I think at the end of the day, like I said, just trying to make everything he does difficult and not give him anything easy.
Anything else for these guys? Gentlemen, thank you. See you tomorrow.